You leave your 7-week-old baby with your family just to use the bathroom. 2 minutes later, you hear your baby screaming so loud it sounds like they are being hurt. You run upstairs, kick the door open, and find your sister-in-law forcing your crying baby into clothes she knows cause your child physical pain just so she can take cute photos. And when you scream at her, the rest of the family tells you to apologize. Welcome back, everyone, to another dive into the wild side of Reddit. Today, we're looking at a story from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, posted by user I_am_not_autistica. Let's just jump right into the post. I am a 22-year-old female, and I gave birth to my beautiful daughter exactly 7 weeks ago. Since the day she was born, my sister-in-law, who is married to my husband's brother, has basically tried to make herself the second mother to my baby. To give some background, my sister-in-law is infertile. I know that is a really difficult and painful thing for anyone to go through, and initially I had a lot of sympathy for her. But her behavior crossed the line from excited aunt to completely inappropriate on day one. She showed up at the hospital completely uninvited while I was still recovering. She insisted on standing right over me, staring while I was trying to breastfeed my newborn for the very first time. It was so uncomfortable. She even tried to demand that she co-sign my baby's birth certificate. Once we got home, it didn't stop. She visited us every single day. She kept trying to push me out of the way so she could do skin-to-skin contact with my baby. She kept pressuring me to pump my breast milk so that she could be the one to feed the baby. Worst of all, she kept calling my little girl our baby, like she belonged to both of us. Here is a very important piece of context for this story. I am neurodivergent. I was diagnosed very early in life because I have severe sensory issues. For those who don't know, sensory issues mean that certain textures, sounds, or lights can literally cause your brain to panic. When I was a newborn, I would scream my head off whenever my mom would put me in those fancy baby dresses made of tulle. It felt awful on my skin. To this day, I can't even touch that fabric without feeling grossed out. It seems like my baby has the exact same problem. So, to keep her comfortable and happy, I only dress her in super soft cotton, crocheted dresses, or just basic onesies. My sister-in-law knows this. Everyone in the family knows this. It's a strict rule. 2 days ago, it was my mother-in-law's birthday. My husband and I decided to go over and celebrate, and of course, we took the baby with us. My daughter spent most of the time in my arms because both of us are dealing with a bit of separation anxiety right now. The only person besides me who held her was my sister-in-law, but she wasn't asking nicely. She would literally just reach over and take my baby out of my arms. Every time she did this, my little one would start screaming and crying until I took her back. I told my sister-in-law multiple times to stop doing that and just let her rest. Instead of respecting my boundaries, she immediately started guilt-tripping me in front of everyone. She started crying, saying she just wanted to hold a baby since she could never have one of her own. Postpartum hormones have made me super sensitive, so honestly, I felt bad for her and let it slide. This kept going on until I finally stood up to use the bathroom. When I came back a few minutes later, my baby and my sister-in-law were both gone. To say I was dying inside is a massive understatement. I started looking all around the house. Suddenly, I heard my baby scream so loudly, I thought she was actually being tortured. I ran toward the sound, threw open the door to a guest bedroom, and found my sister-in-law. She was taking pictures of my baby. She had completely stripped my daughter and forced her into a stiff, scratchy dress made out of tulle. She knew my baby hated that fabric. My baby was screaming, crying, and kicking her legs aggressively like she was trying to tear the dress off her own body. I completely lost it. Seeing my baby in pain just broke something in me. I started screaming at her, calling her a horrible word. In my anger, I yelled that if God made her infertile, it was for a reason, because she was willing to put an innocent baby through pain just for her own sick pleasure. My husband and his mother heard me screaming and came running upstairs. My sister-in-law instantly started crying her eyes out, playing the victim, while I frantically changed my baby back into her soft clothes. Once my baby was safe, I just broke down and started crying too. My husband immediately packed us up and took us home, where I had a huge meltdown. Later, My mother-in-law called me. She told me I was totally out of line, that my words were cruel, and that I needed to formally apologize. I felt like I was going crazy. Was I too harsh? 3 days passed after I posted that, and I spent the whole night talking to my husband. We put a lot of puzzle pieces together. First of all, my husband told me that the second I went to the bathroom, he started walking over to grab the baby from his sister-in-law. But his mom, my mother-in-law, stepped in his way. She used the excuse that she desperately needed his help moving a heavy table right that second. We realized that my mother-in-law and sister-in-law planned the whole thing. They distracted my husband so the sister-in-law could sneak my baby upstairs, play dress-up, and pretend to be mommy. I got a really bad feeling about all of this. Later that day, I called my husband's sister. She has been low contact with the family for years, way before I even met my husband. I told her what happened, and she dropped a massive bombshell on me. Turns out I'm not the first person my sister-in-law has done this to. When my husband's sister had her baby years ago, the infant had severe colic. The mom was breastfeeding, so she had to cut a lot of foods out of her diet to keep the baby safe. My sister-in-law decided she knew better. She secretly fed that baby non-safe formula behind the mother's back, which made the baby incredibly sick. It seems my sister-in-law has a real psychological problem where she refuses to listen to the actual mothers and does the exact opposite just to prove she has control over the child. After hearing that, my husband and I decided we were completely done. We cut contact with everyone except his sister. My husband is amazing at setting boundaries, and he fully supported me. When he told his family we were done, my sister-in-law went crazy. She actually yelled that I was taking her niece away over a dress, and claimed she had more rights to my baby than I did. My husband just blocked them all. About a month later, things escalated, but in a good way for us. We live in France, and they have a great social worker system here. We got a lawyer, got a written statement from his sister about the formula incident, and filed for an emergency move. Because what the sister-in-law did was considered child endangerment and exploitation. Taking photos of a distressed newborn without consent, we got approved fast. We moved to a completely new city. Our lawyer sent them a strict letter stating they cannot contact us and will not see my child until she is at least 2 years old. And you know what the craziest part is? She didn't even fight it. It's like a switch flipped in her brain, and she completely lost interest in my daughter. Why? Because my baby turned 8 weeks old. We found out from my brother-in-law, who is now divorcing her. He had been begging her to try IVF or adoption. They got into a massive fight, and she finally admitted the truth. She doesn't actually want children. She doesn't want the responsibility of raising an older child. She only wants a newborn. She treats them like literal dolls to play with and take pictures of, and the second they get a little older and need actual parenting, she gets bored. Now we are in a new city, and I feel so much better. No more anxiety. I have an easy baby and a great husband, and we are finally safe. Deep breath. Let's look at some of the top comments from the community on this post. Commenter Rogue05 said, "What you said was horrible, not going to lie, but it came from a buildup of not putting strict boundaries down and her going way too far. Is she going to apologize for her misbehavior? Or is everyone just taking her side no matter what out of pity?" OP replied, "We have put a strict rule since the day we saw her reaction to the material. No one has gotten her that kind of dress, so my sister-in-law knew better. Plus, my baby doesn't just cry normally. She literally screams, and it looks like she wants to tear her skin apart." Commenter Janet_in_Spain pointed out, "You comment on the post about neurodivergence, but have explicitly ignored all those questions about how your husband has no spine and is apparently not standing up for you at all." OP replied, "My husband is the one that is better at boundaries than me. He had the nurses kick her out after the birth certificate incident. I didn't know where he was during the incident at my mother-in-law's house, but we talked about it. His mom distracted him on purpose." Commenter _minimum51 added, "Yeah, absolutely not the a-hole. The fact that she thinks she has more rights to the baby than you is psychotic. If the baby is in daycare, make sure they know who's allowed to pick up the baby. Get cameras. She's lost her mind, and who knows what she would do." Commenter Giselle said, "Sister-in-law needs to be checked bigly by those close to her. Her baby desperation is going to get her criminal charges if she doesn't slow her audacity. Probably best that OP is moving, and wonder how long it'll take Grandma to realize she's losing actual relationships with grandchildren by enabling the golden child and his wife." Honestly, guys, this post gave me absolute whiplash. At first, you read it and think, okay, OP's sister-in-law is annoying, but yelling at an infertile woman about her infertility is a super low blow. It's a horrible thing to say. But the more you read, the more you realize that OP's reaction wasn't just random anger. It was a pure, unfiltered mama bear instinct. When you hear your baby screaming in pain, your brain stops being polite. You don't think about manners or feelings. You just want to neutralize the threat to your child. And the sister-in-law was a threat. She knew the fabric caused the baby pain, and she did it anyway just to get some cute pictures for her own ego. That is super toxic behavior. And the twist at the end? That is what takes this from a family drama to something straight out of a horror movie. The sister-in-law doesn't actually want to be a mom. Being a mom means staying up late with a sick toddler, teaching a kid how to read, and dealing with teenage attitude. It's hard work. She didn't want the work. She just wanted a living, breathing accessory. A prop she could show off on social media. The fact that she completely ghosted the family the second the baby turned 2 months old proves she never loved her niece. She only loved the idea of a newborn. I also have to call out the mother-in-law. Imagine helping someone trap your son in a room so your unhinged daughter-in-law can go play dress-up with a crying baby. That is some next-level toxic enabling. It is no wonder her own daughter went no contact with her years ago. I am so glad OP's husband stood his ground, backed up his wife, and got his family out of there. Moving to a new city was 100% the right call.